Well, it was just a few days before the release of this video that our world was once again rattled by the news of yet another tragedy. This time, the tragic events took place at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. 19 school children, 2 teachers lost their lives this past Tuesday as a result of gun violence, a senseless, avoidable act of terror that was committed by an 18-year-old young man. You might be left asking the same question that I found myself asking upon hearing the news this week. What can we do in response to this act of violence? Well, the one answer to the question is to consider what we shouldn't do. What we shouldn't do is allow ourselves to become numb to these events, as exhausting as they might be. We also cannot simply dismiss the problem, moving on with our daily lives because, well, the problem's over there on the other side of the border for most of us. Well, the answer to the question, what can we do, might not be so clear at this moment. There are a few things that we can do as we listen for God's voice to guide us in the days ahead. We can weep alongside those who weep. We can express our anger, directing it at cowardly politicians who bury their heads in the sand when it comes to gun control. Those who are quick to shift the blame away from their own legislative acts. I mean, it's mind-boggling to think that Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed a bill into law just months ago that allowed Texans to carry handguns without a license and without training. If we're not enraged by things like that, well, I'm not sure what to say. The problem might be over there, but as people who follow in the way of Jesus, we're called to see past borders. We're called to see all others as family, neighbors, people who we are commanded to love and care for. And so we weep with God and with those impacted by this tragedy. We embrace and embody God's righteous anger as we call on politicians to repent and change. But while we do that, we can also do one more thing. We can come to terms with the fact that in our lives, we often find ourselves lost in the endless battle over petty, meaningless things. This tragedy and others like it shouldn't take this, but it should remind us of what really matters in our world. It should bring us together as we commit ourselves to acts of peace, as we cry out together for justice. It's easy to get caught up in petty things, those day-to-day struggles and annoyances that really don't matter. But as followers in the way of Christ, we are called to let our lives be the love letters we write to those families and those community members who mourn this day. And so while you weep, while you express your anger, also consider the ways in which you can set aside those petty, unimportant things and join with others as we confront the darkness in our world. As we move toward a better tomorrow, let us pause for a moment, praying for the families and the victims connected to this tragedy.